All right. Let's see if she's in here yet. Let's see.
Can you see me?
I can see you. Good morning.
Good morning. It is so nice to connect with you today.
The feeling is mutual. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's such a blessing, and but such an odd thing, multidimensionality, where we're literally just sitting here, you and I, transcending time and space, joined by others all over the world. It's kind of beautiful. I love that Zoom and YouTube are like your first steps of multidimensionality, of accessing like literally transcending space. It's kind of special. So
Absolutely. Let me make sure that is actually all good on my end. I was in the process of making sure that was good, but it should be. I believe so. Um, so what we are going to talk about for those who are tuning in, Sarah, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
hello everyone. My name is Sarah. I am a mystic, divine feminine channel, healer, spiritual counselor in human form, I guess you could say, who has come down to be human during the time of the awakening. And as a mystic, I think I made some notes for us today. In this moment, I have access to maybe 15 to 20 like past lives, for lack of a better term. It's definitely, like you said in your post, all happening simultaneously. So the parable that I like to give is there's like a can line of Sarahs all across time and space, and we're all experiencing certain things all at the same time. I'm very aware that this is my last human life. So a lot of the access I can see and dive into, but the more I heal and the more I choose the highest timeline for myself, the most authentic timeline, I can't really see those old past lives as much anymore. So I've recorded, I think I checked about 9 and put them onto my YouTube channel, but certain ones I just don't see them as much. If I've healed that timeline or I have ended the friendship or relationship with the person that maybe, to use the term that brought us together, unalived me, I kind of choose differently and say, you know what, I don't want to connect to that timeline anymore. I want to choose a different one. I want to choose my highest one and let that be and not engage, or the word that I wrote, really repeat that connection with that person, for lack of a better term, because they might be very unconscious to the fact that they've done something or that we have any of these past lives. So sometimes that unconsciousness, when you have that consciousness, can be very confusing for a lot of people. So I guess that's a little introduction to me and
That
my work. And
that is actually a great introduction because you actually tapped on a few things I have in my notes that I want to address later on in this interview.
mhm.
One being, I would first want to address how I came about your YouTube channel because I say it was divine guidance, so to say,
Oh,
because I saw that you reposted one of my videos about being incarnated and having people who are in your own family members being a part of that cycle. And you have to learn to forgive and forget, let bygones and be bygones, essentially. And that video was part of my story. It's shockingly one of the stories that I share in my book, How to Listen to the Universe. And it is one of the stories that I felt very like I didn't want to share that personal story about who is tied to me that did those wrongs to me in a different life
mhm.
because they're so close to me and I don't want to spoil it for everyone. Everyone's just going to have to just go out there and get the book and read it.
Yeah.
But it was one of those videos where I felt I needed to share this because I know a lot of other people felt that they could relate to that. And it was
Mhm.
just ironic that that just so happened to be the video that brought this conversation together because you reposted that and something just made me check out your channel because I believe you linked your channel to the repost or something like
Mhm.
that. Or you just said you talk about these past lives. And I just went down the playlist and one of your lives that really fascinated me actually was, well, first of all, I was obsessed with how you were able to connect to your past lives, where you are one of the few people that I know that can see. I believe you addressed it in your notes. It's like you have this technologically advanced soul from the Atlantean period that can see these lives play out next to you like a computer, if I'm not mistaken. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that. And so it's, if I'm talking directly to one person, usually my guides will show me an image over here. And that's somewhat how it started. And when I first came into channeling, or just recognizing that I shined a little bit. And at first it was just this like a board like this, and they were trying to talk to me and give me the play by play. And then I noticed that there would be more of another life happening over here at the same time. And it's almost as if the way that I'm going to try to verbalize it is, imagine that my eyes are projecting out little computer screens. And there's a bunch of different computer screens that are lenses that are over the current here and now, the view that my soul is seeing. So it's happening in this very galactic way. And in my Atlantean life, I definitely chose to trust in different ways. And the last procedure that I kind of let them do was put a bionic eye in. And I could kind of see maybe like a Mad Eye Moody type of an eye where it would go all over the place. And I used to really resent that past life in an honest way. And she reminded me the other day, preparing for this, like I knew that I had to do what I had to do to give you what you needed to help during this time period. So we could never get mad at ourselves for going down the wrong rabbit hole in any of these past lives, or and as mystics, we kind of choose to go down the lions and tigers and bears portion of the, we're like, oh, I know I'm not supposed to go down there, but I'm going to see what's there so I can help others maybe make different decisions. So I never regret any of my past lives. I know that there's so many of them that the arc is somewhat, Sarah made a decision that maybe she shouldn't have made, learned something, was unalived, or chose actively to check out, like in the Lemuria, where we knew that that would envelop in itself. But it's very, very fascinating. And if it's kind of like one image over here and then a past life over here, but now I think I can probably tap into, if I need to learn a very specific lesson, maybe 5 or 6 at the same time, and they'll all kind of bring something to the table. I always equate something to the cafe table, where it's like, oh, okay, this person has come in, this person has come in. And especially right now, when I have a feeling that there's a chair that's kind of pulled out and put back in again, like, oh, there's a guide here that wants to talk, or someone that wants to come through, or there's a parable within that lifetime that there's some gold in there. Don't discredit it. Don't think that you made wrong decisions, or even if you've been unalived, there's something there that maybe the collective afterward learned. There's a very fascinating past life that I don't have complete full access to because it keeps changing, where I was unalived, but it was in a beheading type of a way. It was after a big war, somewhat Joan of Arc-esque. And the more I really sink into my divine femininity in this lifetime, it kind of changes a little bit, whereas maybe that wouldn't happen, or maybe that doesn't need to happen. But one thing I found fascinating in that past life is, as what I've seen before, is after the beheading, the people that were either watching or observing, there was this wave of, what did we just do? What just happened? We were all screaming, like, let's do this. Let's unalive her. Let's have that be the way. And then all of a sudden it was very much like, was this the right decision? Who were we listening to? It almost, that action broke a spell that they were under, just for lack of a better term. And that they all were like, I'm not a murderer. I don't want to do this. I don't want to participate in this anymore. So there's never a judgment when it comes to those types of things. I guess now in, where are we, December 2023, I won't spearhead charge into battle without recognizing my why. Am I trying to, even if it's a verbal exchange with someone, you can be completely in the right, but if that person is not at the same frequency as you, they can't hear you in any capacity. They just can't hear you. And that's without judgment. That's a different paradigm. one is not better than the other, one is not more evolved than the other. That's their chosen reality. And that's completely just like my reality is my chosen reality. So it can be very much that wave of a feeling of, I was wronged in this past life, and now is my chance to prove to the world, where that's still somewhat of a fear-based energy or exchanging with that connection, where why not just have little moments like reposting something of yours bring us to a more enlightening dialogue where we can open up that page in your Akashic records to say, I remember that moment. And you can choose differently. This is all a pass along for us to help each other. Me having access to all of these past lives isn't just for me. And I acknowledge that so much. It's none of this shine is just for us. It's to help remind the others, you shine too. You have access to however past lives you believe in your heart that you have, and that you can sink into that knowing, if that makes sense.
Right. And now I want you to elaborate more on stepping into the divine feminine, because you, if I remember correctly in the videos, you had a form of a imbalance, right? Where you, something along with the lines of the IUD, like that played a part, if you want to get that personal, but it is your story, and how that is kind of one of the messages going into this current timeline, this current realm, right?
Yes, definitely so. And thank you for asking. And I will be very vulnerable with my story as well. As I, for a long time, was very confused and didn't really know what my placement was. I think it really had, my full spiritual awakening really was spearheaded in the beginning of 2020. And its astrologically based was the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn in January of 2020 that really started the entirety of the change of the world. Happened by degree on top of my natal moon. So even if I didn't want to have my awakening, the planets were like, no, Sarah, you absolutely have to. And so, knowing for a long time that it was my last human life, I had made decisions to get an IUD put in. And I just said, I know that I'm not going to have children. So this is just, I'm kind of lazy, I guess, for lack of a better term, during that time, and had been trying on gender neutral pronouns at the same time as well. This was in the midst of me really doing a lot of healing with my father wound or my mother wound. So I was having a very confusing experience, not feeling like I fully belonged in my body. And, for a long time, I was identifying as more angelic or Andromedan or more alien, but there's nothing that I can do to my physical human avatar to make that any less defined or less real or more real. I'm, inhabiting this human body. We are consciousness running the body. I am not this beautiful avatar named Sarah. I'm consciousness all over time and space. So what I found, that the more I got the IUD removed, I removed tap water, fluoride from my diet, as well as refined sugar from my diet. And that was a full detox in and of itself. And there was, interestingly enough, one of the first times I ever channeled and met my guides, they told me to grow my hair, and that growing my hair was a very important component. And at the time, I was in a very androgynous space, and I was shaving my sideburns off. As you can see, they're still kind of growing out like this. And, we all can choose free will. We're in a polarity-based reality. We can choose to go left, right, regular, decaf, what is good, what is bad. So I listened to my guys. I was like, okay, I'll let most of it grow, but just obviously my sideburns, it's okay, I shave, or I can cut it off in the middle of COVID time, and that obviously will have no connection. But the more I grew my hair, the more I just sank into my femininity and loved that, and loved my softness, and loved that side of myself, and just grounded down and, took more baths and had more massages and more spa days. My channeling blossomed exponentially. like exponentially. And I was able to discern and differentiate between, is this real? Is this an intrusive thought? Is this my future self? Is this, my precious inner child that just needs some nurturing? Who's talking? What's going on? I was actually able to discern so much clearer without all of these different chemicals or hormones or things that are affecting me. And I'll very personally, I'll share, when I was a youngster and as female, when I first got my period, I was 12 years old, and my doctors immediately put me on birth control pills. It was a very, very painful experience for me. So what I recognized is that I'm, 36 in human form. And as soon as I got the IUD taken out, it was the first time in my adult life I had been without any hormonal manipulation happening to my body. However small or large it was the first time I'd ever experienced that sense of clarity, and gave myself the capacity to feel, to be feminine and to be so emotional it's such a superpower. It's to be able to be a mystic and a muse and be soft within that. There's so much to the female brain that is it's such a multitasking brain. So it's become easier for me to be able to be washing the dishes and then have a past life going over here. There's a healing coming in here from my angels. There's more happening all at the same time, but I feel as grounded as I possibly can be within that space, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. And you hit on something that I was just talking about last night with a buddy of mine, a coworker.
I love it when that happens.
Because you said how you detox from all this stuff and it opens you up. And I was just explaining to them about how I drink nothing but mountain and glacier water. And I feel like that has contributed to keeping me more pure and grounded. Also, the hair growth is another thing with me as well. I've been on my journey since I've started growing my hair, and my hair feels like a part of me. It is, if I lose my hair, I feel devastated. I have dreams of losing it. So, but to digress and get back, we were talking about how medications have contributed to, you look at all the people who are on ADHD medications, how it's overly diagnosed. And the doctors are the pawns for big pharma putting these poisons, these chemicals within us to suppress our natural gifts. And a lot of us can naturally, like you said, your gifts elevated when you detox from these poisons, because what is tap water? Poison. It's robbing you of your minerals. Same with purified water. It's robbing you of the minerals that your body naturally has. So from medications to water, we are literally purifying ourselves, our souls, by just what we consume. And that's what I'm glad you really hit on, because I believe that the collective needs to know this. This is a beautiful time for us. We are in this age of enlightenment where we can share this information. And it's wonderful how this just organically came up. And I was literally talking about it last night. We went into so many rabbit holes. But I also want to know, because you also are big into astrology. Yes. And I could see in the background. Can I know what, in this current go around, when did you find that your fascination with astrology blossomed?
Blossomed was in quarantine time. Blossomed in really the type of thing that as things were shutting down, I was going to buy as many more tarot cards as I could, as many astrology books as I could, and I just wanted to have it there. It's become a very fascinating way for me to channel, and it's something that the more I choose actively to follow my passions and educate myself, the more information that I didn't book learn just comes in and just opens up to. So I think I found full acceptance and wonder for astrology. I had always, like when I was a child, I had tarot cards, I had a meditation altar. I really enjoyed being, and I'm an Aries sun. but I didn't know what my rising sign was. I was a Scorpio rising. I didn't understand how people saw me as this deep, dark, mysterious being, where I thought that I was coming across like a golden retriever, and that's just not the way. So I would say yes, in COVID time in 2020, and I feel so grateful for that time. I was able to just be with myself. I find that, to go off of what you're saying, the more that you detox, the more time you spend with yourself. Rebrand alone. You spend it with yourself, getting to know yourself and make sense of all of the different images that you receive. So with the blessing of my alone time in COVID, I recognized that it all made sense and it was very accessible. Astrology is history, math, and patterns. And what we've experienced before is happening now as a lens. And then we add the awakening as a new lens. What we're experiencing as human beings, we've never done that before. We've never had so much light coming to the planet, all of the solar activity. So we're experiencing all this in a very new way, but somewhat of the micro and the macro, we can go back and see, all right, for the United States, for example, they're having their Pluto return right now, which doesn't happen for human beings. When you have a solar return, that's your birthday. It's when the sun is in the same point in the sky when you were born. For Pluto, this hasn't happened. I mean, the United States, the birth chart that we use is July 4th, 1776 at 5:10 p.m. So the US is a Cancer sun, Aquarius moon with a Sagittarius rising. So we're big forward thinkers. We want to be really shooting our shot. Sagittarius, we're in Sag seasons, run by Jupiter. We want to be doing big, big things. That Aquarius moon, we're way more alien than we think that we are. Definitely in the US, we have a deep inner call. And a Cancer sun is run by the moon, very emotional about, the fourth house and home, and safety is key. It's the bottom of the general astrological chart. So I find that to be very fascinating. The Pluto return is happening in the second house for the United States of money and values and access to resources. So Pluto, the deepest transformative planet, it's Phoenix energy. It's, we must burn to rise up again. In the house of money and access to resources, where, as we can see, we have new money that is coming to be. We have different types of money. What is money? What is currency? That's going to be so much of that next transit. Pluto astrologically will go into the sign of Aquarius, the prophesized age of Aquarius. We had a little bit of that in 2023. I want to say about 3 months of that. Pluto will go back into Aquarius January 27th, 20th, pardon me. And then it will fully ingress into Aquarius the end of next year. So next year's big change coming, like for the United States as well, for the entirety of the world. But normally, yes. Normally a Pluto return signifies the end of an empire. So it's fascinating. But on a micro level, Pluto went into Aquarius in March of this year on my birthday. So I found that to be kind of a cool little moment in time, definitely so.
It's very interesting you say that, because that brings me to another thing I want to address, because history is notorious for repeating itself. And in your last life, Atlantis was destroyed. And I see a lot of parallels with your last life and what's going on in this current time with the jab. And you said there were chips with currency, like in a wrist, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying, that we're headed to that era where we are supposedly marked to have our currency digitally within us. So I'm like, if this has already existed and they're talking about having it exist again, that means we are due for another reset. And I believe that we are due for, when I say a reset in regards to, I think our planet is on the verge of lust, looking for love, where we are still in these lower realms, these lower emotions, these lower vibrations, or the 3D essentially, these lower chakras. And we're trying to get to love, but we're so ruled by our ego. because the powers that be that have that control are nothing but ego, and they control everything within this planet, and they're trying to keep us suppressed with poisons, and they're trying to keep the light from shining from within us. So that's why they give us the junk. That's why they give us the media, to keep us divided. And I see that now a lot of us have stepped back, and now we're starting to see the bigger picture. Oh, wow, bird just hit the window as I was talking about this. But now starting to see the bigger picture of how everything we've just been lied to. So 2020, interesting you say, was a great awakening, because that was the year of the vision. And I just see that what you mentioned, the rebirth of the phoenix, I believe that in order for humanity to reach that heart chakra, to reach ultimate consciousness, we might have to go through a form of a reset to get rid of what is here right now. But as the phoenix rises from the ashes, that is the group of the enlightened ones who will then show the world and usher in, because the information we're putting out there right now will not die. It will always be out there in the ether, and people will be able to access it in different timelines. However, this current timeline is like the United States look at it as like the Roman Empire, every empire, the yin and yang. I always wear yin and yang because everything has a rise and a fall. And we may be a new country with influences from old age, but we are due for our fall. And it's unique how I prepared these notes, because I said we're just going to go with the flow. But you're hitting on stuff that I was like, I definitely wanted to ask that. Like, that's amazing how this is just flowing. But to get back to astrology and reincarnation, can you tell our audience who doesn't know about reincarnation how astrology plays a role with the different nodes in your life, and how that plays into how that factors into the now?
Yes, great question. Great question. Because I would say the 101 way would be the North Node and the South Node. The North Node is really the collective destiny, what we're working towards, what we're moving into. That's right now in the sky in the sign of Aries, which is a very independent sign. It's the first sign of the zodiac. So it's the phrasing for Aries is I am. And so regardless of your pairing or where you are, we're all stepping into and stepping up into our sovereignty. That's what the planets are asking us to do right now. Whether it's in relationships, at work, whatever it may be, we're being asked to speak from I statements. And I love to use the power, like if something within you is going off, just look at the moment and just say, interesting, as if you're on safari, and just say, interesting. I'm not going to react to this. I'm going to pull back and respond. Because the South Node is our past life, for lack of a better term, what we're releasing right now. And that is in the sign of Libra, which is the balanced scales. So it's right now, if we're choosing our highest timeline, it's going to be very uncomfortable to step into your highest power, because you're leaving behind old codependent patterns, or you might be stepping out of a group for the first time, or leaving a partnership or a pairing that you've been in for decades, because you know you have this inner calling that's saying this is the where you need to be going. And so for myself in my own natal chart, I'll be having a natal return. My natal North Node is in Aries, and my natal South Node is in Libra, in the signs or in the houses of creativity, play, romance, childlike spirits, and joy. So my North Node is telling me, Sarah, if it is your passion, go for it. Do it. It doesn't have to make sense. Have fun. You will be kind of, in my own essence, the way that I think of it, as very childlike in your presentation, but you'll make people feel more comfortable. That house also has my natal sun in Aries conjunct Jupiter. So I have my sun, Jupiter, and my North Node in my 5th house of creativity and play. So my South Node is over here in my house of community, friendships, and wishes for the future. So it's saying, do not repeat your old past life patterns. Do not repeat that. it's going to go against the status quo. It's going to go against what you maybe are within your community. And that's okay. That's what you're meant to do. And if I go back and look at old North Node returns where I, chose to stay in maybe an unhealthy partnership, and I had to go down that rabbit hole, and knowing that I wasn't in the best relationship, knowing that it was unhealthy, but maybe looking at other factors. Financial fear is a big deal. I know for people even right now within their current living situations, people are living with roommates that they do not want to be living with, but because of the financial situation, because of the powers that be keeping us, not making the money that we need to be making, or having to make decisions out of this fear. South Node in Libra, it's effortless to lie. We can feel as though we're making the right decision by telling a small white lie, if they call them, to say, oh, no, I have to say this because I need my home. I have to stay in this relationship because we share the mortgage. I have to be nice to this person because I work with them and I need this job. So it can be very triggering and difficult to be coming up to situations that maybe we're shaking and terrified in, but we have to stand in our sovereignty. That's the astrology is matching it, and it will feel uncomfortable, but just like you get little butterflies right before you go live, you just remind yourself you're safe, remind yourself you're okay, and that these decisions, when we stand up, it feels awkward because we also have Chiron, our wounded warrior, retrograde in the sign of Aries as well. So our identity is being hit, our ego is getting hit. Every little bit of this can feel very confusing. We also right now have, what else do we have? I have the moon in Libra as we're chatting right now. So our intuition is in the house of relationships, and I find that to be fascinating. But the more we have any planetary body affecting the South Node, this is when our exes come back and we're, just too lonely in this independent path, and we go back and go back and go back. So it's reminding me, this gives me a very clear understanding of, it will feel awkward, Sarah. It will feel difficult, and it will feel as though you're standing up in a way that you've never done before. That's the nodes. That means you're meant to do it. That means it's right. It's okay. If it feels too comfortable and like you've done it before, and I guess I'll just respond back, that's the old pattern. We definitely, one of my favorite astrologers, Pam Gregory, she's this wonderful, wonderful woman. She has a beautiful YouTube channel. She's in London, I believe. And she's been making the point, which I really found fascinating, where we're playing chess with life and the powers that be, if you will. We're not playing checkers. So those little decisions like, oh yeah, I check the terms and conditions, and oh yeah, a chip in my hands, that's so okay. I think at the grocery store that I go to, you can now scan your palm to pay for your groceries. And that's just such a specific imprint on your body. And that could be my Atlantean past life, just saying like, don't do it. Don't get the chip. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because I've experienced that life. And I know that that's an option. That's something that's readily available for many people. But I find that the astrology helps me make more informed decisions as I'm navigating the current world.
I found that the reoccurring theme with gathering the notes for this interview was the past repeating itself, and how not to like fall into that trap. Because looking at the videos, I just saw where we were. And a lot of people, if they're not familiar with the possibility of we regressed as far as how technological advanced we were to now, that might mainstream education, all that will never teach you that. But intuitively, we all feel it. We all know this planet is a lot older than what mainstream science and education tells us. And that's why I say we have all the answers within us. And it's it's up to us to go internally to find these answers, seek and connect to that divine consciousness, that divine mind that connects us all will give us all the answers. And we all collectively felt, oh, you know what? I was on this planet a long time ago, and this is what it was. And I don't believe that what religion says about this period of, like, I have so many questions, and I think a lot of us who incarnated in this time period were the ones who just came out the womb just questioning everything when it came to religion or the different indoctrinations. Even with education, we were just like, but why can't I do it this way? What's up with this answer? Why aren't you giving me this? We just came out with the different answers, and because it didn't make sense to our soul, we went with our own discernment. That's our natural intuition. And they tried to silence us for that. But we are prevailing. And now it's gathering a huge community of us who are just like-minded individuals who are just trying to share this information, like what you're saying. Like, we won't go too deep into Atlantis because that could be a whole conversation, but I know how humanity has fallen, and we are repeating ourselves. We're nowhere near as advanced as we are, but we are, in a way, I see parallels. And with your chart, it's just like, we're not supposed to go there. We're supposed to go a different direction. And how does humanity, in your opinion, go into a different direction?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's a great question. I would say the first thing that I would say is to slow down, and not feel as though, because we are being asked to digest so much information so quickly. You can pick up your phone and be talking to people all over the planet across time and space so instantly. So I would say you see something in front of you that's very triggering and you want to engage with it, but part of your gut, your body is going off, but your reptilian brain is telling you, no. So it's okay. Walk down this rabbit hole. Just view yourself and try to, step above yourself and view yourself like you're on safari and say, okay, Sarah's getting triggered right now. Sarah's not going to react. She's going to say time out and not respond. Spend some time with yourself, whether that be in meditation, whether that be, if this is, a new language to you, go for a walk in nature. Go do some mirror work and talk to yourself. The first moment that you recognize I'm talking to myself, you're separating your consciousness from your human avatar. Like, if anyone has ever said, I just got so mad at myself, who is the you that you are and who is the you that you're mad at? You're acknowledging in that moment that there's your human body and then there's the soul, the consciousness that's navigating you. I like to think of all of this as we're all on individual quests, and something might look very shiny right over here. But if you have a little bit of this feeling, or if there's some feelers going off, remind yourself that you are still animal. You can have gut instincts, you can have gut reactions to something, and take a pause and say, this really doesn't resonate with me. I'm going to go talk to my chosen family, the people that are very, very close to me, and make my decision from that space. What is best for me? If we're constantly being told what to do, I'm thinking for the unconscious collective, I'm being told what to do and I'm doing it, but I still am not allowed to play outside. I'm being told what to do and I'm doing it, but I'm still not getting what it is that I was told that I would be getting. There's a lot of different components to it where it's, I'd heard a phrase once that, from the US's perspective, we're all in a, narcissistic a relationship with the powers that be. And that can be very scary when you acknowledge that. When you're the closest one to the narcissist and you know that you have to come away from that, there's a deeper inner knowing inside of you. And I feel as though the fear that's being projected onto us, whether it be financial fear, the institutional fear, where do this and then the mark of the beast type information and that stuff. But the more we slow down and take our time between stimulus and response, try not to react in this very, very fast-paced world, that is actually one of the biggest steps, the biggest leap of faith that you can take, is slowing down. don't have to respond by end of day. You can take as much time as you need to, or even send a response email. I received your email. I'm taking my time. Whatever you need to do in the 3D world to make yourself feel better about, as long as you need, as long as you need. Slow down and the answer will come to you. Slow down. That's the biggest. Grounding is key. It's just so funny because I love that we literally just both made notes to go off of exactly what we're talking about. Grounding is key. Alone time is key.
And that's exactly how it's flowing, ironically, how the notes were put together. And I said we're just going to go with the flow, but that is an amazing answer because I feel that, especially when you see what's going. I don't watch the media. I don't listen to the radio. I'm I'm on social media, but I'm not on social media, if that makes sense. Like I post, but I'm not on it. Like I'm not doom scrolling, or I'm not just looking for different things. I don't feed into like these gossip pages. It's just, it feels like a distraction. And I think when you step away from all that, that's when you truly have a form of clarity, because you start seeing the bigger picture. Like you see people who are far left, far right, and then you're just like, you guys are arguing like two wings on the same bird, and you guys don't see that. Because interesting, I was with my grandfather over the holidays, and he was going about the part about, because I'm very unpolitical. Like I stepped away from that years, but it's like stepping away from it, you just see the elaborate facade that was put into play for humanity. And my grandfather's like, oh yeah, this whole situation going on in Palestine and Hamas and Israel, and he was just pro Israel and just going with and it was just like, because he was feeding into what the media was saying. And we just legit educated him on like, this is what's really going on. And that boomer generation, they can't, they're so used to what they hear is what they know. And that's it. Like they were the ones who went out and got the jab right away. They were the ones who flocked because the media said so. But you could see the different sides of the parties where you got far left and far right, and they're just both in your face, and they don't understand that they are both extremists in their own way. And it's the same with religion. When people get so caught up with an identity or a label, that's when these emotions get triggered. But when you take a step back and break away from all that, it's almost as if you have everything you're unfazable, because you just see above it and beyond it. You see the bigger picture, and you're open to having a debate with anybody because you see all perspectives. And then you have the people who are just like so one-sided because they're so attached to that ego or that identity. And that's why what you said was brilliant, because it's just like when you take that step back, go into nature, reflect, you start to have a form of clarity. Meditation, I don't know, how often do you meditate? Do you meditate?
At least once a day, definitely so. It's become part of my morning practice, and it's when I'm first waking up, and like I said at the beginning, it's almost as if like there's these screens that have come out of my eyes and I can see all these different things. It's reminding myself like, all right, come on back, everybody, come on back, and just to breathe, and reminding myself as, a channeler, and as someone who does the work that you do, meditation reminds you, I'm not what anyone needs of me. I'm not what anyone thinks of me. I'm not the expectations of the world. I'm here. I'm here. I'm sovereign. I'm safe and grounded. I'm multidimensional. It's reminding yourself of the very simple things in life, but then at the same time, it does give you grounding to expand back out. So it's kind of you can see way more the more you focus on one breath. So I would say in my own practice, having any version of a meditative practice moving forward, at least astrologically, if nothing else, if you don't participate in the spirituality or any of that, just astrologically based, things are going to get confusing. Things are going to get more Divided is the wrong word. I would honestly say it's more like a snow globe that you shook up and they're like, okay, make the best decision for yourself, confused and a little bit all over the place. That's no way to move from. So having a meditative practice for me changed so much. What about yourself? Do you meditate every day?
Not every day. I do something like, and I want to address this for people because a lot of people are going to ask, well, how do I meditate? And I mentioned this in the book, how meditation doesn't just involve sitting in the lotus position. It could be whatever gets you in the flow state. I notice you dance. So like that's a form of meditation for some people where it's whatever puts you in the flow. Honestly, sometimes playing a video game, like a very competitive video game, and getting into that flow state and just tapped into something. I play this video game called Madden. It's a football game. It's on the PlayStation. But what's ironic is when your player gets in the flow state, they call it the X factor, where their player lights up because they're in that flow state. But I'm like, in order to get that player in the flow state, you playing the video game have to be in some form of a flow state. So when I am in that flow state, that is when so many ideas that just come to me, these etheric downloads just hit me, and I may be doing something where my mind is just spacing out, but this is my form of getting off of work and relaxing sometimes, where I just decompress and play a competitive game. And I'm just there. Sometimes I will sit there and listen to the silence, listen to my thoughts. And that's when I feel that I truly connect to my highest self. When I'm out in nature, I go for walks, or I'm alone, or sometimes I just sit alone in the dark outside and listen to Mother Nature. I've moved into this RV to live in nature. Like, that is why I really enjoy this nomadic life, because I feel like it really does connect me. But not in the winter. I don't go outside in the winter. It is so cold. It is unbearable. But in the summertime, I love just going outside and just listening to nature and looking at the stars and just feeling connected to the universe. And I think everybody needs to make time for themselves and do that once in their day. Like, because we get so caught up in this matrix where we don't make time for ourselves, and we're not giving ourselves the proper medication, because meditation is medication for the mind, body, and soul. And we add to this stress of our job. We take away from ourselves, our family, but we don't get back to ourselves. And I think meditation truly gives back to ourselves. And I am so grateful that I put the book out there for that reason, just to remind humanity to make time for yourself, pay attention to what the universe is telling you, because we are so lost right now. And in due time, I know that we will find our way, but it's just a matter of the right message to get out there. And these powers that be love suppressing my account, believe it or not, talking about the same stuff that I've talked about has been deleted multiple times, but I've always overcome. And I've grown like rebirth at Rise of the Phoenix. Every time they delete me, I come back stronger and build a stronger community, and I connect like-minded individuals like you. And I think that's just the light overshowering the darkness, because I'm not sharing anything that is detrimental to anybody. I'm just sharing stuff that everybody is open to their own opinion to. And why it's being deleted, I don't know. But then there's a part of me that feels like I do know. And I won't elaborate too much on it too much right now, because they love deleting me and silencing me. I'm kind of in a form of a shadow ban on YouTube, but I know that it's not about the views. It's about the right person comes stumbling along to see the message. They will find the message. Like, these lives, they may not blow up right now, but I can promise you somebody's going to stumble across this video and they're going to learn a lot. And that's all I want. This stuff doesn't have to blow up and get millions of views. It's just the message that's being put in there to reach the right person, who will then reach 10 other people, who reaches 100 others, to reaches 1,000 others. It's just like, if you implement that seed and you deconstruct what has been constructed for humanity, I feel like I'm fulfilling my soul's contract. And speaking of which, I want to know, I wanted to know, like, as you being having this great eye, this from a past life, are you able to see others' lives the same as yours? So you can see different timelines playing out for others as well as yours?
That's a great question. And yes, I absolutely can. It can be if I'm doing a one-on-one with someone, or if I'm just chit-chatting with someone. I don't know if you know much about human design at
I,
all.
I'm not familiar. I My buddy Nick, he was the one who turned me on to it, and it's very intricate, and I'm still learning. Like, you got the spleen, and I know I'm a master manifester, and that's kind of, and I thrive in mountains, like, and which is so true, because that is where I receive most of my downloads. On mountains are something that makes me restricts my oxygen, which is being under the influence of certain psychedelics. So my human design is accurate to a T in that aspect, but you're an expert on it. I'd love to hear more.
With I definitely am not an expert on human design, but when I found out I'm a projector, which is there's about 20% of the population is, and we don't have a defined aura. So I have a very penetrating aura. So when I'm within the company of one other person, I can really pick up on where they are, what's going on. Are there, it's not telepathic in the I can see like their thoughts perfectly, but if they're in fear, if they're in bliss, if they're in love, if there's some issues going on within the divinity, the masculine and feminine, I can kind of be like, oh, they're a little too far on their masculine, there must be fear within here. And that I'll get with, like I said, like the image of my guides over here. And then sometimes I'll get a past life of theirs based on the exchange. It really depends on what's going on. So for example, I've seen at one of my jobs, there's these three gals that I work with that were kind of ending a friendship with one person that was a little bit more on the, I never want to peg someone as like, you're a narcissist, but had narcissistic tendencies and was on a different trajectory and a different timeline. And I saw that, I'm in the North Shore of Massachusetts, so very close to Salem and the area where there were witch trials and things like that. I saw that that person was the one that had kind of given the three of them away. And then I saw the three of them getting burned at the stake. Can't really chit chat openly a lot about that, but in one-on-one sessions with each of them, I was able to talk about, okay, this is how you unwind yourself. This is how you set healthy boundaries. This is how you verbally communicate. If and when they're keen for more of those past life views, then yes, absolutely, I find it within my space to be able to share that. But when it comes to a projector, just to go off the human design again, we need to wait for the invitation. If I call someone and I say, hey, I'm seeing all these multiverses and all these different things on you without being asked, it can feel very invasive for that person. So a
Right.
lot of my work is really just focusing on what my bliss is, what I enjoy, sharing content of, like-minded beings. And then lo and behold, you get a message from someone that's like, hey, do you want to participate in this? So it's waiting for that perfectly divine timing. But it can be very, very helpful for certain people, especially if they've lost loved ones in this physical life and they're learning how to gain access to that person. Because definitely when it comes to soul groups or families, we come lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So if they're not here in physical form, it's teaching that person how to ground and what that meditation can look like. Because just like you said, meditation and sitting for a lot of people can be very confusing or even anxiety producing. Sometimes if my human is experiencing a lot of anxiety, if I'm, going through upgrades or big downloads, sitting does not work. I need to put on some music. I need to really have something that I can move to and dance to and sing to, or just going for a walk. Even a drive can be meditative. I'm sure that you're experiencing that where you're just driving and in bliss and it's just, they just kind of hit you so quick. So meditation can look so different for everyone, but it's just taking time once a day just for you, just for you.
Most of my video ideas come from drives, like where I'm just driving and then it's like the idea just comes in my mind. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing a video on that, or these skits. I feel I can always tell when someone's getting into a form of a flow state, from athletes to dancers. And that's why when I was doing the research on gathering my notes, I saw that your dance videos, they do very well because that is you in that form of flow. And that's why that people feel that, you know, like people feel when you are tapped into that etheric knowledge. And that's why the videos that I post that are in that from that flow, those are the ones that gather the most audience because everybody is feeling that connection. And I see it in others when they are in that state. I love seeing athletes get into that state. I'm really trying to detach from the matrix when it comes to like watching football. Like I feel like if anything that still distracts me is being a fan of the of football, but I feel like when I am truly detached from the matrix is when I completely don't care about football, where I'm like, it doesn't impact my emotions, but I'm just saying like the
Mhm.
fact that I will sit there on a Sunday and just watch it and I'm just like, wow, I just wasted an entire Sunday. That is me falling into this trap that was designed. And it's like I'm recognizing, I guess this is my beginning stage of recognizing that I'm falling for this trap. But at the same time, I'm like, gosh, I love this trap. But in the summertime, it's perfect because I'm like, it's no football season, spring, summer, it's great. I have time to like do other stuff and focus more on content, business, all this other stuff. And
Mhm.
come fall, I'm like, oh man, it's Sunday. I got fantasy teams and all this, and yeah, it's definitely a trap.
All of it, but for me, be kind to yourself with it because we're still in the matrix. And because you're cognizant of it, because you're aware of it, you are floating above it. Our humans still have needs and desires. Our humans still want to, like, the what is it, the FOMO when you choose the spiritual path. There's such a FOMO. So if the worst thing that you're doing, my friend, is watching football on a Sunday, you're doing all
Oh
right. You're doing
my
all right. You're doing
God.
all right.
You just said something that actually was what truly broke me away from football actually, where I'm an EMT firefighter and I had this call for a guy. He was a diehard Ravens fan. Him and his wife were watching a game and she ended up dying in the middle of the game. And this was the time, this was 2019. The Ravens had an amazing season that year. They were
Mhm.
winning almost every game. I think they only lost two. And he was like in his man cave, him and his wife religiously watched football together. That was their bonding on Sundays. They had pictures of them at the games and all that. And he said, wow, the worst thing that's happening in my life right now is my wife dying. And so none of this means nothing now. Like you've seen his will to live just go. So he was the one who said, my wife would always tell me, if the worst thing that is happening in your life is your football team losing, you're having an amazing life. And he said, now she's gone. I have no one to cheer me up when they lose because I just lost her and they were winning. So I don't even care about this no more. And it was just like, you felt that. And you were like, I was that diehard Ravens fan who was depressed when they lost. And I was like, damn, they just lost. Like, wow, my whole week is ruined. And I'm like, first world. Now looking back, it's like, wow, first world problems. Like your
Yeah.
football team lost. That's the worst thing that's happening. You
Yeah.
still have a roof over your head. You still have your health. You still have your loved ones. You have a great life. So that really put things in perspective for me, where it took out my emotions when it came to watching football. Like where I was just like, I don't really care about it no more. My dad was one of the same people where he was a diehard Steelers fan, and I think me telling him that story kind of got him to the point where like, you know what? I don't really care about this like that. Like they lose. It is what it is. I still got a good life, and that's what we all need to know. Like perspective, like so that you just said the same words that that woman said that put perspective in my life when it came to meaningless stuff like that. So great, like full circle moment right there. And I know that you have to cut out at 1, I believe, right? So, uh, I guess if there's, I believe I covered everything that I wanted to ask. Because I asked about the introduction, which I mean, not the introduction. You have to be invited for someone to read the Akashic records. Essentially, it's an invitation. I know there's certain rules where people have to have. It's like a certain age that you don't want to just ask. You don't want to impose this on somebody. Like, can I read your records? It's I feel this, but you need to invite me in. Like, let me into your intimate stuff. So, why I was asking, I don't feel as if I have anything read that needs to be read, but I just wanted to see if you would be able to demonstrate your knowledge, and then at the end of it, give yourself your own stage. Well, this whole thing was your stage, because I want more people to find you, to see what you are capable of. And I was wondering if you would be interested in doing any demonstration. I'm giving you an invitation into whatever it is, from tarot, astrology, just so we can end this on your platform, your business, and we can get more people to flock to you, if that's all right.
Do you know your sign? Do you know your astrological sun, moon, and rising?
I'm a Virgo, Cancer, Cancer.
Virgo, Cancer moon, Cancer rising. Do you know what house the moon is in? Is it in the 12th or the first house?
I gotta look at my co-star. I don't have that. Let me see. I don't have it readily available. I know that what is my moon? What house is it in? Do I still have co-star on my app? I am, let me see.
So then I would have Cancer would be running your first house. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So then your sun would be close to your third house of communication. Then I'm guessing this.
I think, let me see. It's loading. I'm gonna have everything for you in just a second.
Take your time.
So while we're in the process, we can also just give yourself a shout out. How can people find you? From YouTube, Instagram?
YouTube is my favorite place to do my teachings and my videos, definitely so. It will be Sarah Botticelli will be my handle. And Instagram as well, I use for more personal, more dancing videos and more short form expression and things like that. So my quest, because I think that if we use the wheel behind us, we're all on a quest. And my guides have told me that my quest is to find and help train the new leadership team for the awakened new earth. And that can be indiscriminate of age, where you are on the planet, what generation you're in, all different things. But it means that wherever you are, you've been a leader in your life, that people have looked to you for guidance, or even you're just at the grocery store in your pajamas and people ask you where certain things are. There's a light inside of you that you don't really need to know why it's there. You don't have to ask yourself those questions, but just know that you're part of the group of people that are going to be helpful for kind of resetting the planet during and after the awakening. We're in like the middle to the end, depending on how people kind of wake up and things like that. So, and I really have to say, I never get frustrated over how few, or when certain videos that I post, if I use very specific words, they don't get any reach or they don't have anything. But then when you see people and you meet them, it's kind of like you, where it's like you shine like a minor league baseball player. Like there's something about you that is meant for something bigger. especially as a manifester. Those are the pharaohs of the world. And it can become somewhat off-putting for the people around you when you just say, hi, I'm here and I'm just living my life. And they're like, who gave you the audacity to do that? So it can be very triggering just by energy type alone when it comes to the manifestors, because you are the ones that see into the future and know I have to do something. This is the way. And for the Virgo sun, that's mutable earth energy, my friends. That's like, probably as a kid, like you've got the receipts, you know, when everything has happened, the fact that you do Akashic record work, you're run by Mercury and double the moon with the Cancer, definitely so. Did you find the co-star?
I did. So we were asking what house is my ascendant in, or
Your moon.
okay. It's in the 8th house.
So the moon's in the 8th house in the sign of Cancer.
Yes.
So it's a Cancer sun and moon and a Virgo rising?
Correct. Virgo, I'm sorry, Virgo sun. Yeah, Virgo, Cancer. So this my Virgo's in the 10th house, the sun.
Mm-hmm.
My ascendant, wait, this can't be accurate.
Yeah, we can't have the moon in the 8th house. The moon would have to be, if the ascendant is here in Cancer,
Yeah,
the moon would have to be.
I don't want to zoom out, but my accurate co-star, I'd have to download it. But I know that I'm not the best with astrology. I know that's why I have other people look into the charts. But I know for a fact that I am a Virgo Cancer, and I don't know why co-star decided to just not. That's why I was like, I was reading it and I was like, that can't be accurate. So let me see.
Well, I'll go off of sun in Virgo and then the moon in Cancer. The moon in Cancer is run by the moon. That sign in and of itself is the homebody. It's the intuitive. It's the very, divine feminine within all of us. But the Cancer moon, I would say, honestly, is you're probably like a living room of a person and set this beautiful stage where people feel very safe around you. And they understand that even if maybe sometimes with the sun in Virgo, you can come across as very direct in your communication, it's very assertive in a very needed way. Because with mutable earth energy, you've checked your sources, you've checked your resources, you've only change your opinion when, and this is not a projection, it's like Virgo with the capital V. I would never say that this is you, but based off of that, you have this intuitive knowing of if something's off, you will adjust. Earth energy can be very grounded. This like Taurus is like fixed negative earth energy, like very, very stubborn and very grounded. But Virgo can be a little bit, it's more like the harvest. You're happy to do the small tasks that get you to the greater goal. You're happy to do the research. You enjoy the research. And with the moon in Cancer, it is very intuitive. You know that what you're doing is more for sole purpose. I'd say, I feel like it would be in the 12th house. If we had your ascendant in Cancer, I feel like your moon would naturally be in your house of sole purpose, healing, closures, and coming home. Not so much with the moon being in the beginning. Actually, let me rephrase, it could be either. With the moon in the 1st house, this could be, I'm spearheading the new world. I'm part of that leadership team. I'm part of creating, especially with that manifestor as well, saying, I don't know, you do know, but sometimes it can feel, I don't know where this information is coming from, but I know that I have to do it. Like my chiropractor has the moon in the 12th house. He knew he was going to be a chiropractor when he was 7 or 8 years old and does like very intuitive work. I didn't know what a chiropractor was at that age, but he had past lives as healers and different things like that. So I found that to be very fascinating. So moon in the 12th house, you're driven by purpose. Moon in the 1st house, it's very much I am and I have to go first. So the 1st house is run by Aries, whereas the 12th house is run by Pisces over here. So we always have to have different lenses. I wear thick glasses, so I speak of lenses. And our soul is viewing this world through all the lenses of our human avatar, and then every single bit of our astrological wheel as well. So I find it
Well,
all to be so fascinating. What did you
well,
discover?
thank you for that quick share. Like that is, I feel both of those actually, where what did we start this conversation off with? Where I was like, I feel as if this is how we usher in this new age of information. It's just connect like-minded individuals and get them talking and sharing information that other people will benefit from in the long run. Like you said, it doesn't matter how many views certain things get, but the message is out there in the ether, and I just wanted it out there. It's like I know that I had to do this, and now here we are. And I really see great things coming your way as well. Like that is because, like you said, that Major League Baseball talent, right? Like you're playing in the minor leagues, but you got Major League Baseball talent. I don't just reach out to everybody. Like I just felt something. I move with intuition, and I intuitively was guided to reach out to you and talk to you about what your videos and how I felt something with them with your playlist. And I was like, yeah, we definitely got to get on a conversation and talk about this because this is huge, especially I don't know if you do professional past life regression for people like that's also one of your outlets that you can read that people can because people are in my comments saying I'm looking for a quantum healer, and there are a lot of benefits to quantum healing sessions. Like I know that I was able to close like a big karmic debt within my life by bringing light to it. It was just this nudging, and I was just like, why is this feeling here? And I found it, and I'm grateful to have found it, and I just want others to benefit from that. So my advice to you is to actually start doing more reincarnation stuff on your Instagram so people can find this because people are looking for this information. You have a gift with your ability to see with into other people's auras. And I personally would love to see a lot of that content from you where you are helping others tap into their quantum realm, their field, and you heal them because you are gifted in that way. Because that's what drew me to you. That is your shining, other shining, seed shining. So I saw that and I felt it, and I really think you should dive into that a little bit more.
Thank you. I really appreciate that message. Thank you so much. I had written down like all the past life tales that I'd already posted, and then all the list of the ones that I haven't even recorded or put out there just yet. And it's curious because that's the one component that I've only put onto my YouTube channel. And then the first time I had even mentioned it on my Instagram is when you and I connected. So I take that as a very, very serious message. So thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate that.
The collective is looking for this type of healing. I've seen that. How can I say this without being banned? Mushrooms, like mushrooms and certain
Yes.
so to
Yes.
say.
Yes.
And I've talked to multiple psychologists who mentioned how they're breaking free from their own indoctrination, where they were like, I've seen people on psychedelics have so many breakthroughs from years of therapy. And honestly, being on a form of, I was able to tap in a certain way because was in that, what am I as a master manifester, or I have to be restricted of oxygen, so to say, for lack of a better term. And that is how one of the ways I can connect to source along with meditating. And that is not the way that everybody can do. Like everybody can't tap in that way, but you can tap in a unique way, and you can see other people you can tap into other people if they invite you as well. So I'm telling people to flock to you because I believe that so many people will be healed if if they allow you to do it. And I was just curious to why. I was like, I see it on YouTube, but I'm not seeing as much of it on Instagram. And Instagram is a powerful tool. So I really think utilizing that in shorts and just having people just know like, hey, I'm here. This is what I do. Like that. And even on TikTok, TikTok has helped so many people. Uh, are you on TikTok?
I'm not right now. Thank you so much for planting that seed. It's been YouTube and Instagram have been the two that are so accessible and that I've used for so long. It's sometimes I'm like, how many different platforms do I use? How many different, but it's the message that I was getting from my guys. They were so excited about this talk, and they just kept saying what we're speaking of will help. They use the term millions because if we think of one person and how many ancestors they have within their line that are actively looking down, when you heal one person, when you choose to heal yourself, you're doing healing for your generations, for so many beings, so many angels, so many ancestors behind you. And they're all watching us in awe. If you're on the planet right now in 2023, your ancestors that were, kings and queens and warriors, they're like, you're physically living through this right now. What tools of mine do you need? What do you have? And to speak very vulnerably, I have one past life tale that I think could be very helpful just to speak off of the divine feminine and the divine masculine and coming back into that space. I have past life tales of sexual trauma. Whereas a lot of the time when you step into your divinity, things that you used to enjoy, you're like, why did I like that? Why was I drawn to it? Why was I doing these types of things? Why was I attracted to that type of person? The more work you do on yourself, the more that just falls away. And I had written something down that I wanted to say. Sometimes when we get blips of these past lives, like just very, very small blips, it can be a fractal, like a fly's eye or the one little bit of a disco ball that can say, this might have happened. Sometimes for a human, it could be very, very traumatizing, too triggering, and you don't have to view it. Sometimes I feel those really powerful ones they're very, I don't want to use any banning words, like biblically negative, I guess, for lack of a better term. You'll have that come in a dream, a really scary, really gross dream, and you wake up and you're like, and you feel it all day. Even people that are unconscious have, had that dream where, oh, my partner was cheating on me, and then I'm mad at them all day long, and they don't think anything of it. Whereas you see something really scary in a dream, that could be your higher self really saying, you don't have to experience this, but I have to show you for you to heal it, for you to experience it. For so much of plant medicine, it can be very efficient healings, really within such a short period of time. And I'm so grateful for experiences that I've had within that space, because it had helped me at certain times feel more comfortable with multidimensionality, more comfortable with, my version of the three wise men are now standing in front of me, and not have the very human reaction of fear, which lowers your vibration so that those unseen beings can't be within your space, if that makes sense. But it's very exciting to be alive right now. It feels, for all of the light workers or who anyone is on this path, 2024, you will have your audience and your work cut out for you. It's a beautiful thing. So if you're not getting your views, just trust and rest and go slowly, because that stage will come out of necessity for a lot of people that will have awakenings, and they'll see something that wakes them up in maybe a scarier way. And you'll be there to gently hold space to say, oh, here is all of what I've gone through. How can I be most supportive to you? And find those avenues. The quantum healing is so beautiful. And powerful and very emotional. I've had people that have come to sit in front of me before, and they just start crying right away. And sometimes we don't even have to talk about one of the views. just some talk therapy and process what's happening here and now can just get those spells unwound and can just let it fall away just by feeling certain emotions or just even speaking specific words. Like it's just even for the where I live in the world. There was a time where anyone who was speaking about rocks and stones was labeled as a witch and was burned at the stake. So even just having this dialogue is healing for so many people all over time and space. It's never discrediting the quantum world, and just exchanging is bigger than we can imagine sometimes.
These were the forbidden sciences at one point, because the world was ruled in that old age. As we escape this old age, the age of Pisces, right? Like that's where all the lies and the deception was all over us, and now we're entering this age of enlightenment where it's a safe place for us to talk about reincarnation, and we don't have to worry about someone knocking at our door saying, I gotta hang you, or I gotta do something, like that's like we're completely okay. And I think why this is healing for so many people is because a lot of people are suppressing their gifts because they're afraid, and they don't know why they're afraid, but there's something that keeps them dormant, and they're like, I don't want to have that evil eye on me. I don't want that light on me because I've had it on me before and it didn't work out too well. But their soul knows that, their body doesn't, and they don't know these emotions are coming from. But it's like, this is the time for you to get this negative trauma out of you, because we're all safe now. They may try to suppress this information as much as they want to, but at the end of the day, love conquers all. Love and light conquers all. And that's exactly what I know a lot of us in this community are doing. And it was, you said your spiritual guides are proud that this conversation, I feel as if every interview that I've done so far within this last year was divinely guided, So the fact that we have had time to sit down and talk for this last hour and some change, I'm grateful for that. And I don't want to hold you up too much longer, but just know I'm glad that we had this conversation. I am grateful for what is to come from the both of us. And I see your shine, and it will truly blossom. And you really are going to hit it within this next year of 2024, the year of abundance.
I claim it. Thank you so much. I see really big things for you, my friend. And I think being on your travels, and I'm listening to my guides, keep writing. I think you'll write more books than you think that you'll write, and keep expressing yourself in that way. And certain ideas keep close to your heart and let them blossom in that way. They're showing me like if you're playing poker or something like that, like keep certain cards, they're saying cards close to your heart, and wait, that's a seed that will blossom, but it might be a redwood seed. So be very specific as to where you plant that redwood seed. So.
I feel that. I feel both those messages actually, where you're hitting on something that I was very hesitant on doing. And you're hitting on also, I'm like, I feel that I will write more books, but I'm just like, it's a timing for when that comes. So it's just, this conversation was definitely divinely guided, because when I start feeling something here and here, that's when I know, like, that is source telling me through someone else, or that is a message from the universe that this is what we need to listen to. So it's like we both gave each other that universal message, and I'm grateful for those messages. So as of right now, I think what's best is we just keep going with flow, like as I said, as we started this conversation, just let it flow. And that's how we are supposed to live the rest of our lives, is just flow with the universe, and that is it, and everything will be okay. Don't worry about the divine plan, just know you go with the flow, you're going to be good.
You'll be good. You're gonna be so good. I'll ask, for anyone out there, if time or money were no object, would you be doing today what it is that you're about to do? Because that will help you in the awakening, where in the future, everyone has infinite time, infinite money, everyone has their resources. And, let me be the pie in the sky one, just come with me on this dramatization. And would you be doing what you're about to do if time or money were no object? That helps you find your purpose. Because if there are times where if time or money were no object, I would just dance all day, dance up and down the back shore, dance on the water, dance for the seagulls. And it brings me incredible joy. I forget about food, I forget about water, I forget about everything. So that bliss space in a very accessible, very 101 way. Time or money were no object, but everyone else on the planet also had infinite time and infinite money. It's not just you. So you don't have to have those worries. But in that world,
I'm going to leave us off on this, but I have one more question because this is going to segue to what I want to last say for humanity as with this conversation. If you are at a point in your life, if you were to leave this planet today, this is your last day on this planet, would you be happy? And if the answer is no, you need to change up what you're doing right now, because I can truthfully say, if I were to leave this planet tomorrow, I'm not leaving this planet tomorrow. I don't feel that. But if I were to leave this planet today or tomorrow, I'll be okay with what I have set in place so far. And I feel content with that. But there's much more to be done. So with that being said, I want to know, and we'll break after this, why is this your last incarnation on this planet?
I'm choosing that. I've lived, and I feel as though after the awakening, more people will have that understanding. They gave me a message many years ago that this would be my last human life. And that in all of my past lives, all I ever wanted to do was help people. And I would give and I would give and I would give and I would give and I would give. And they said, in this life, Sarah, what your work is to do is to receive and to learn how to receive more love, more health, more wealth, whatever that may look like. Because the more that you receive, the more you can give. That's just the way this world is. Tony Robbins, the secret to living is given, that type of a thing. So it's a choice for me. I've lived many lives. I feel, like you said, if today was the day, I've put a lot of my message out in ways that I know to be true. And what I become is a summer breeze in August of 1993, very specific. And it's just, you believe in hope and magic, and I can do anything. That's where I'll be. That's where I'll be. It's just that summer breeze. I definitely know that if I chose to have children, then I would definitely be coming back into the planet. If I chose to do certain things, and those stepping stones have not come to be yet. So that's why I mentioned it's a choice. Maybe in my 60s or 70s, I'll have a different perspective. But right now, I'm happy to be on mission. It brings me effervescence and such light and love to be on mission, and to know that my work is to share my experiences, to help awaken others to all of their experiences. It's so vibrational. Even just looking into each other's eyes in a genuine way wakes up a part of ourselves that we don't have to understand fully. We just have to trust and know. And, definitely for anyone watching, be drinking clean water, very, very clean water, and say thank you to the water for nourishing and nurturing you, and whatever form of thank you or prayer or energy work that you can give to that water is a beautiful blessing. It's just, nothing in this world is meant to be just ours. It's meant to be shared. We came here to experience each other and to separate from source frequency into all of the billions of us. But it's the yin and the yang, as above, so below, as within, so without. but it's definitely at this point in time, in this moment, a choice. And I know that to be true. So.
I feel that for the both of us. And that's why I wanted to end it on that, because I feel like we are doing the work that is intended for us to do in this lifetime. Like I said, back then, this wasn't a thing. We couldn't have. This is why I know maybe a few of my lives, I expressed this in a few of my videos in a comical way, but I know that at one point, a few times, that my lives were cut short because of this information, but it just wasn't on the right frequency. Like, this is the frequency and the timeline that it's supposed to be on. So those lives that are happening right now, they're feeling this energy and they're feeling grateful that this is happening because we're going to accomplish great things. So I want you to give us one last shout out to where the collective can find you, and we will break on that.
My YouTube channel is Sarah Botticelli. My Instagram is sareann Botticelli. Please reach out to me directly, or sarahbotticelli@outlook.com. You can send me an email if you would like something more personal, but you are not alone. Across time and space, my dears, you are never alone. Absolutely not.
And Sarah's going to create a TikTok where she'll reach multiple people within this next year. Abundance is coming her way. I'm already manifesting that for you. That is your next step, is to create a TikTok, and you will blow up within this next year with what you will put out there. I have faith in you. I see it with the mind's eye. It's there.
Thank you so much for that message. I couldn't be more grateful for you, my friend. Thank you so much across time and space for all of the work that you do. It's never, sometimes for myself, we can do things in a very comedic way. It's performative, but it's accessible, and healing doesn't have to be scary. It's meant to be celebrated, every bit of it, even through those tears. So I'm so grateful for you. It was such an aligned conversation. Thank you so much.
Well, you have a good day and enjoy the rest of it. May abundance come your way.
You as well, my friend. You as well.